Okay, we are on lesson 3, and we have 4 chapters in lesson 3. We have bids and estimates, we have contracts, we have project management, and the ever popular lien law. Can't wait to get to that. Lesson 3, bids and estimates. Accurate estimating is very important for the profitability of a construction company. If a project is estimated correctly, the contractor is more likely to make money if he gets the job. Here's our chapter outline. Bid documents, ethics in bidding, estimate planning, estimate framework, technology tools for estimating, quantity takeoff estimating method, other estimating methods, estimating pitfalls, submitting your bid, and the job cost recording system. Let's start with bid documents. Now, picture yourself in a competitive bid situation. You want to bid a large project. A bid package often contains the invitation to bid, bid instructions, bid forms, and supplements. It's extremely important that all the bid documents are completed according to the specific requirements of the proposal. It's also very important that you carefully evaluate whether participating in the project is the right decision for your business. When I started my commercial department at Lansing Leno, for instance, I had a $30,000 to $40,000 cap on projects. Sounds ridiculously low now, but we needed to start out so that I knew that I could finance the programs and so that our staff could learn to manage the projects. Ethics in bidding. Acting in an ethical manner is important to maintain integrity in the bidding process. Practices that are considered unethical and even illegal in public projects are bid shopping, bid peddling, and bid rigging. In bid shopping, the general contractor who has just been awarded a large contract goes out and seeks lower bids after getting the contract. That's bid shopping. Bid peddling. Subcontractors who hear about a general who has received a large project submit lower bids after the contract award. That, bid peddling. Bid rigging. Large general contractors or any contractors coordinate their bids to fix the award outcome. They get together ahead of time and say, okay, it's your turn. You're going to turn in the low bid. The rest of us are going to know what your bid is, and we're going to turn in bids that are higher. Bid rigging. Estimate planning. Before participating in a proposal to obtain a job, you must prepare an estimate. An estimate equals the sum of the cost to complete the project plus your overhead factor, what it costs to run your business, plus a profit margin. A good estimate will fall within 1 to 2% of actual costs. When you look back on it, you will find it's within 1 to 2%. To prepare an accurate estimate, you need to follow the steps below before you begin adding up your numbers. Gather all the project documents, the construction plans, the specifications of the materials and the methods, and the contract. Then create an estimating framework. That means you're going to define the phases or the steps of the project. And for each one, you're going to list the tasks and materials needed to complete that step. Consider the use of technology tools to save you some time and improve your accuracy as you prepare estimates. You take a look around and see what's available today. All of the software just keeps evolving. Steps to prepare a quantity takeoff method estimate. Okay, this is the first method of estimating that the state of Oregon wants you to know about. It's not a regulation that you should use this. They're suggesting this is the method that is the most accurate. It's called the quantity takeoff method. First, we determine the cost of labor for each of our tasks. Then we add what is called the labor burden. Now, think of yourself as a contractor a few years down the road where you have a group of employees. When we talk about labor burden, something you carry, we're talking about employees. These include tax payments like Medicare, Social Security, unemployment insurance, also workers' compensation insurance and benefits. So what we do is we determine an amount per hour that covers those expenses. That is called the labor burden. If I hire somebody for $20 an hour, likely it's going to cost me $25 an hour by the time I'm finished with all of the labor burden. Next in our process, we want to determine the cost of the materials that we need. After that, determine the costs of the machinery or equipment. Now, the book gives an example of renting a backhoe. A backhoe is simply a large piece of equipment. Not too many people are using backhoes today on projects, but that's what it is. An example. Next, we're going to remember to add our subcontractor fees. Now, this is assuming that you are already at that point where you have a crew that is paid on your payroll, but you will also be requiring the assistance of subcontractors, so you don't want to forget to add that into your estimate. Now we want to add a thing called allowances to the contract, to the proposal, to the bid or the estimate. It's called allowances. This is the owner's budget. What are allowances? The owner's budget for items that are not specified in the project plans, like finishing materials, carpets, fixtures, lighting. At Lino, if we're going to bid to install your carpet, we're going to specify in the contract or in the estimate that we are going to bid with a $35 per yard carpet. That is called an allowance. It is the owner's budget. Add contingencies, which are costs associated with unforeseen problems or conditions during the course of the project. A contingency add is a percentage add, maybe 1%, maybe 2%, and you add this to your cost to cover unforeseen problems. Contingency, unforeseen. Add then project overhead. So these are expenses that are specifically related to that particular project. They could be the cost of providing utilities, getting electricity to the job site. They could be dumpsters. They could be cost to recycle. They could be portable toilets. All these things are called project overhead, and we need to bid to cover those costs. Add company overhead. What is company overhead? Company overhead is what it costs you to get up in the morning and start doing business every morning of your life. When you are an independent contractor, with a sole member LLC, your overhead costs look like your truck, your phone, your liability insurance, your bond. All these things. What does it cost you by the day to have your company functioning so that you can accept customers? So company overhead, when you have a physical location and you have employees, looks like this: office rent, accounting fees, taxes, telephone, legal fees, administrative staff, and on and on. This is company overhead. Anything you have to pay just to be doing business today with no customers. Last, we want to add what is called markup and profit margin. Markup is a calculation that adds a profit margin to the cost of an item. I have $100 item. I want to mark it up by 1.5. I'm going to get $150 for my sale price. And that $50 is going to be my gross profit margin. A lot of people will ask me, well, what percentage am I adding? Well, this markup is an art, not a science. You look at your overhead costs, you put in a markup that seems to work for you, and you see whether or not you can land a job. You will learn as you go with markup and profit. Once your estimate is complete, you should review it carefully before submitting your proposal. Okay, that was the quantity takeoff method. The quantity takeoff method is usually the most accurate way to estimate, but there are some others that you are most likely to be familiar with. The most common form of estimating, particularly on smaller projects, is the square foot or cubic foot method. This is simply adding up the total square footage of the project and multiply it by a unit cost. This unit cost is determined by the market. You say to yourself, well, what's the going rate for installing a square foot of carpet or a square foot of tile, a square foot of ceramic tile? And you use what you think is the market value. The unit price method is the third type that they want to introduce. Now, the first one's called the square foot or cubic foot method. The second one is called the unit price method. In the unit price method, you bundle all your costs to create that unit price. You take a very good look at your company overhead and your structure, and you say, what does it actually cost me to do a square foot of this material? Then you develop your unit price more specific to your own company. Then it behaves just like the square foot method. You take that unit price, you figure the total of the square footage in the project, and you multiply it out, getting your sale price. Here's some estimating pitfalls or problems that come up that the CCB wants you to think about. It is important to be accurate and detailed when estimating a job. You may not get the profit you want if you make a mistake. To avoid errors, you should always check and recheck your estimate to uncover your mistakes. Mathematical errors, omissions or leaving out labor or materials, the use of abbreviations that are not standard. It's better to spell out the complete words. You want to use square foot, linear foot, cubic foot, not a symbol that you have adopted to mean those words. You want to make it very clear how you are bidding the job. Units define exactly the linear, square, and cubic measurements that you are bidding. Then, when you're all finished checking and double checking, we are ready to submit the bid. Follow all the instructions in the bid package to prevent your proposal from being rejected. The process of reviewing a bid normally takes 30 to 90 days. They'd like you to know about something called a job cost recording system. Now, I need you to look ahead as your business grows, because you will need to get some experience before this job cost recording system begins to make sense. A system for recording labor costs provides many benefits for your current and future projects. Current projects are monitored more closely. It helps with future estimates, and it generates analytical reports from the cost data. Okay, I'll give you an example from Lino. We had hourly rate craftsmen at work. They turned in time cards that were specific, allocating their hours to different jobs by the job number. Every week, we entered that information into our computer database, and we said, this is what we did, and this is how long it took. So, at the end of a period of time, a quarter, half a year, we had some very good data on what it actually took to complete tasks. This information was very valuable as I brought it to our estimators to look at, and they compared that to what they bid on the job. Okay, here's the labor that you bid to do this task. Here's the actual labor that was turned in for that task. Is there a big difference? How is your estimating going? My estimators were already experienced when we put this into place, and it improved their estimating incredibly. Today, I'm aware that we have some computer programs that are out there that are being adopted by companies that really keep your profit picture sharp. So you can get some computer help for this as well. But the basic idea is that after you do every single job, you need to do a job breakdown and compare the actual figures from the job to your estimate. If you do that every time right from the beginning, even if it's not a formal job cost recording system, it will make you a better estimator, and that is key to your success.